Peacework Guidebook Unpacked. Episode 16. The lens. This tool uses the metaphor of a lens or spectacles that provide a clearer picture once they have been put on. It is about making sense of causes and effects in a conflict situation. The lens starts from the abstract phenomena in a conflict setting and aims to specify and describe attitudes and behaviors relating to the conflict. The idea behind the tool is that once the causes or problems leading to a conflict go through the lens of the issue causing it, the effects and outcomes of the conflict become more obvious. How is it commonly used? The purpose of the lens is to structure a discussion about the influence the chosen issue has on everyday reality. The participants are asked to think generally and brainstorm about what the reality of living in such a context is like. Their inputs are summarized into several general, key characteristics of the context and written on a flip chart. In small groups, the participants then describe more specifically what the consequences or effects of one component of this reality are in the light of given the lens, distrust with institutions or public services, by answering questions about what they have observed. For example, if people distrust state institutions, what is the reason for this? What is people's attitude towards the state institutions and how will they approach them? Each group summarizes their discussion and presents it briefly in the plenary, pointing out the inputs indicating attitudes or emotions generated by the detrimental context factors. Finally, each group answers the question: how do various actors behave under the influence of this reality? How do they respond to it? Key points and conclusions from the groups are written on a flip chart and discussed in the plenary. The final discussion ends with a summary pointing out the importance of recognizing the various levels of conflict symptoms in a challenging social context and tracing them back to their causes and conflict drivers. Finally, participants' understanding may be checked by asking the participants to give specific examples from their own experience illustrating some of the inputs on the flip charts, and also by discussing how they felt about the tool and the entire exercise. Let's have a look at the example. When the context involves post-conflict social setting, the distrust and hostilities between once conflicted sides is observable in people's emotions and attitudes as the consequences or effects of this reality. As for behavior or actions, during this stage politicians avoid meeting with each other, speak badly or tell lies about the others, propaganda in the media, threat with revenge in public speeches. During unemployment and poverty, the common emotions and attitudes include competition over resources, businesses closing, grey economy, insecurity, depression, and so on. Actions and behavior includes theft, long queuing for basic food products, fights over cheap goods in stores, black market or smuggling cheaper goods from other sources, exploitation of employees, people talking about having no hope for the future. During ethnocentrism and xenophobia stage, the emotions and attitudes include fear, hating and blaming the others, discrimination. On this stage, ordinary people avoid meeting and talking to each other, speak badly or tell exaggerated stories or lies about the others, glorifying one's own traditions, values, suffering, athletes, etc., calls for revenge, claiming more rights than the others in our country. When the context is saturated with distrust with institutions or public services, attitude becomes oriented on finding small doors, clientelism, nepotism, and corruption. Therefore, actions and behavior also involve employing or giving favors to own political party of family members, people being driven into offering bribes to get access to public services, public servants asking for bribes. In rising tensions and violence context, common emotions and attitudes are frustration among people, interpersonal or aggression towards vulnerable groups, people protesting, in the streets, strikes, etc., increased police or army presence, breaking into people's homes, threats, hate speech and graffiti, increased homicide, domestic and peer violence incidents. The lens, strengths and limitations. Strengths. Translates abstract notions describing the context into more visible attitudes and behaviors. Points to conflict symptoms by specifying behavior indicative of certain conflict-conducive attitudes and conflict factors. Most suitable for groups prone to theorizing and using top-down approaches, such as academics or professionals. Limitations. Requires good knowledge of a given context. Does not necessarily provide specific information about all relevant actors. Provides very limited information about the time dimension of conflict. Needs to be used alongside other, more elaborate context analysis tools. Requires a generous amount of discussion time. For more information and practical examples, please refer to the Peacework Guidebook by YMCA Europe Roots for Peace. Next episode. The PESTLE analysis. Thank you for watching.